Morning, everyone.
Morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay, so only 19 students, 20 something have joined. So in the meantime, I'm sharing the link of Peer Deck with you. You people can log into that, okay?
Hello.
Please mute yourself.
पता नहीं अभी हाँ जी
If you people are engaging in personal conversations, please ensure that you're muted.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I've shared the Peer Deck link. Kindly log into the class. Log into Peer Deck, and if you face any problem, then directly go to Peer Deck and use the code WXCUGK. WUGK. It's 49 students. Okay, that's good enough. So I'll begin with the session now. Facing any problem, please let me know. I can see only 26 students logged into Peer Deck.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, our workshop practices class has started also.
Workshop practice class.
Yes, ma'am. And sir is saying,
I'm not aware of that.
and ma'am, it is written in the schedule that you have a class right now with us.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
This
ma'am.
is for everyone.
No, ma'am, for the I think
X
workshop
batch.
is for the X
Ma'am,
batch.
CSE 5.
CST 5, ma'am.
Can you just hold on? I'll
Okay.
just verify it. Maybe there is some mistake. Just hold on, right? I'll just have a word with your PL. Is it showing on Amazon?
On my Amazon, it is at 1:15.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Yes, ma'am.
on
workshop
Amazon.
class.
So maybe they've started the meeting at a wrong time. That could be the possibility. If on Amazon it is showing 1:15, then it should be at 1:15.
Ma'am, sir is saying that in his the timetable which has been given to him, it is showing it is his class, and he is saying that he will mark us absent if we are not there.
Just a moment. Which class did you say?
Workshop
Workshop
practices.
No, workshop
Shop practice.
or practice?
Daniel, sir.
ES
Daniel, sir.
107.
Okay, I'll just have a word with Daniel, sir. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yes,
Please give me a moment. Huh? Hold on.
Yes.
It is only for the EEE students? Oh, sorry,
CSE.
CSE students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not for
Yes, ma'am.
your PL is 1 CSE 5. Your PL is
Madhulika.
Madhulika, ma'am. Right. Just a moment. I'll have a word with him. Please, others, students, log into peer deck. In the meantime, you people can answer this prompt. Whatever you have learned in communication till now, please sum it up. Can you see the prompt? Hello. Good morning, sir. Sir, I'm Dr. Nisha Mishra. Yeah, sir, actually, I have a class of communication. Okay, students, sir is going to cross-check the timetable once again. He says that the class is showing on his Amazon account also. So if there is any clash, because Madhulika ma'am's number is busy at the moment, we'll try to rectify that. Don't worry, I've spoken to Daniel, sir. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, let me just quickly go through the responses that you are giving in the meantime. I'll hide it. Please, everyone, quickly. I can see 46 students logged into peer deck, out of which only 26 people have given the response. Out of 58 people who are present in the class, are there students who are not logged into peer deck? Because you cannot participate in the activity if you're not logged into peer deck.
Ma'am, could you please share the code again?
It is there in the chat box, but I'll repeat it for you.
Ma'am, on the slide it says pause and write what you have just learned.
Yes, whatever you have learned so far.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. WXCUGK. WXCUGK. WXCUGK is the code.
Done, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, yes. Because even after, when you're done with the class, I tend to go through all the responses, and it is connected with your email IDs, so we get to know who are the people who have not responded. So that will have an impact on your internals, because it's continuous assessment. Your performance in the class, in every class, makes a difference. So there are some students who are very active in the class. There are others who are non-responsive. So I can just say that the non-responsive students that try and think, try and listen, try and assess and evaluate what is your teacher saying. What am I trying to communicate? If you do not agree with me, come up with your disagreements, with logics, with rationales, with experience, something, right? Because
My
this
peer deck is not opening.
beta, it could be some connectivity issue. You can try and log in again. Okay, Rama, try and log in again. Some of you have really very nicely expressed yourself. Good.
Ma'am, I'm not using my emails. I've written my name. Is that okay in the response?
You have?
I'm not using my emails, so I've written my name in the response. So is that okay?
Yeah. You have to. I always suggest that write your names in the response. When you don't write your names in the response, then I have to get, go through your email IDs. That what is the email ID? Who is this person? Whenever you're typing anything, try and avoid using caps for the entire message, right? Because when we talk about online etiquette, writing something in caps means you're being aggressive or you are shouting. So this is something that you should be there in your like a habit that you must develop. Good. Learn the basics of communication. Okay, somebody is too precise.
Ma'am, sir
Learn
has
the
told
basics
us
of
to join
communication.
your class now. Daniel sir has cross-checked the schedule and has asked us to join your class now.
He has cross-checked the schedule.
Yes, ma'am. He asked us that at what time he took the class last time. So I told
Okay.
him. Then he said you can join the technical communication class.
Okay, so you can continue with this class, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So that clears the air, clears the confusion. So let me just quickly scroll over the responses, and then we move over to the discussion of barriers. I would really like to understand that whatever you people are writing, that like bad communication skills, they result in problems, or it is a bridge between different people. It is a way to connect with people around us. Do you really do you actually implement all these things in your life? Do you actually practically feel this is what communication, or this is what your conversations are meant to be? This is the purpose that they're supposed to fulfill.
Ma'am, may I answer to this question?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, to be really honest, uh,
Yes.
such things comes out when we are writing about something, and in my real life, that is up to me. I have
Mm-hmm.
never practiced communication in such a way.
Hmm. That you are being honest, and that's the case, I think, with most of the people,
When we
right?
are writing on something, we are pondering upon it, and then new words and new topics, and we discover new details. But when we are talking casually, or even with our teachers and elders, we never I personally never think of the communication in such a way.
Okay, what you're trying to say is that the ideation stage that we were talking about and the encoding stage that we were talking about, this is not something that happens with you when you're having a conversation with your friends or with your parents or with your teachers.
I'm not talking about education, ma'am. I am talking about thinking in this
Be
way that
careful.
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
mean, not
Okay.
really being careful. I mean, thinking of it that it may create miscommunication. I mean, it is indeed being careful only. It
Okay,
is
okay.
being
Yeah,
careful.
that's very true, Sparsh. Most of us actually we do not pay attention to, most of such things like when we are talking or when we're interacting with people, we do not sometimes take care of the medium or the language or the form until and unless it is a very formal situation, right? Until and unless we
Yes,
know
yes,
there are
ma'am.
going to be some repercussions.
Yes,
If we do not and even then people tend to make mistakes, but this is exactly the reason why misunderstandings happen, Sparsh. This is exactly the reason why we do not get the desired response from the other people, or this is exactly the reason why sometimes we fail to understand that this is not what I said, and this how wrongly I am being perceived by people around me, right? So this is the basic reason that when we are communicating with people and we know that there can be no such serious consequences involved, we don't actually take the responsibility of communication. Let me put it this way: we do not tend to make responsible conversations, we do not tend to make responsible communication, right? Like in one of the topics we are also going to discuss what is emotionally intelligent conversations. What are emotionally intelligent conversations, right? So we will go through it in detail at that time. But that's really, I will not disagree with you. Yes. Anybody else?
After communicating, we came to know that what words, what we spoke, and after realization, we think that what the other person thinks.
Hmm. Yes, that's true. But do you actually pay attention to these small little details in your life, in real life also?
Ma'am, a little bit, but I am trying now.
You are trying now. See, what I will suggest is that whatever we discuss in the class in terms of communication, this semester and next semester, try to implement it. I don't say that implement it 100%, but at least try to absorb something out of it. These are not just mere lectures. These are not just mere topics in the syllabus to be completed and then you just vomit it out in the paper and your job is done. No, this is a lifelong process. This is a learning process. Learning is always continuous. Learning never comes to an end. I'm a teacher because only till the time I don't cease to be a student. As a teacher, I'll have to be a student throughout my life. I'll have to continue learning, right? And for me, uh, I tend to observe people. I tend to observe situations. Even I sometimes when I go wrong, I try to analyze that, what barrier did I encounter, why did this misunderstanding happen. And it does happen that, being a very very emotional person, sometimes my reactions to this situations are very emotional rather than rational, right? So I try to assess my response, and assessing yourself is the most difficult thing to do. That is why that day I was emphasizing that intrapersonal communication is very very important. Yes, Sudiksha.
Ma'am, I think in 21st century we all are leading these fast-paced lives that we forget to step down and have a proper conversation with someone. Due to which I think this millennial language, birth was given to this millennial language, where a
Yes,
short form of every word was created.
yes, not just word but sentences also.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really do not know, like I mentioned in one of the classes, that is this for our good or is this for our you know is it going to negatively impact us? Are we moving over to the next stage of evolving to the next stage of uh, language capability, or are we losing what we had gained after so many years of effort and contribution, and coming up with the scripts, coming up with the sounds of the letters, creating so many languages, and then we have lost so much in the process. And now again, again how these contractions are taking us back to the symbolic use of communication. Yes, Parth, are you trying to say something? Yes, Anshuman.
Ma'am, you asked a question about bad communication. I would like to add on one thing. When at times we engage ourselves in fights, word fights with others, then it is sometimes better to be quiet and calm in front of the other person so that the situation will not be escalated and can be controlled at that time only. So it is also a type of message that the person in front of us can get, that the situation could be resolved calmly. So the I just want to highlight the fact is that
one of the barriers you're encountering at this moment, Anshuman, you have ideas and thoughts, but you're not getting the right word to communicate it.
I'm not able to frame it in a sentence.
Okay, well, give us your idea. We'll frame it into a sentence.
What I want to say is that keeping quiet, keeping yourself calm and quiet sometimes can also act as
a way of resolving the issue or putting an end to an argument.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, or
No
taking
message
it
is
to the
also a
next level
message.
where you can, maybe by not reacting verbally to a situation, you can control the behavior of the other person and bring that person to a point where you can have a discussion.
Or maybe surrendering yourself in front of others can sometimes act as a again I'm
surrendering, I'm getting your point. That is surrendering yourself to the others. It helps you to resolve the issue. You're not kind of stretching it beyond a certain point. It's just like if saying a simple sorry can resolve a big issue, why not? Go ahead with it. You don't want to drag the problem.
But that sorry must be genuine then.
Yeah, that sorry must be genuine. But sometimes even when you don't feel it, you tend to you want to stall the argument for that particular moment, right? So yes, Pragati.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Ma'am, as you just said, and I guess Subiksha also mentioned this, that we are nowadays coming up with words like, for example, when we are typing something, we tend to write U as just the alphabet U. So I don't know, I mean, I'm just sharing this. I don't know, I might deviate from the topic a bit. But this is what I want to share, as you just mentioned that uh, as you are also in a dilemma that whether this change is right or wrong, or how this change is affecting our lives. So this was a couple of years ago. I guess I was in seventh or eighth, and we had our English class test, and my friend was writing something, and she tend to write the whole sentence as with using all the acronyms, or maybe like while she was writing ASAP, as soon as possible. Yes. So I guess this is also a way of communicating. Like when you're writing, it's not just verbal; it's also, I guess, the writing, which is a way of communicating with others. And this should also be effective and, you know, very flexible, and everybody should understand it. And it is also divided into two parts: formal and informal. And that was a formal thing, that we were taking an exam, and the way she wrote it was informal. So I guess writing is also a part of communication, and it should also be effective and to be precise and very accurate.
Pragati, it plays a very, very important role. There is a reason why you people have written exams.
Yes, ma'am.
For various, let's take the example of the civil services examination. Essay writing is an integral part of it. Otherwise, for a civil servant, why do you think essay writing is, should be one of the examination, one of the papers that they have to clear? Because when you write, you tend to divulge a part of your personality, of your mindset to the other person. Your choice of words, the kind of sentences you're writing, how long or short your sentences are, the level of your vocabulary, the point of view that you are trying to defend or project. How do you open your argument? How are you closing it? What kind of conclusion? Are you giving it a concrete conclusion, or are you leaving it open-ended? Are you a problem-oriented person, delving more on the problem and just in one or two paragraphs or a page you're winding up the solution, or you're a solution-oriented? I mean, there's so many things that we can simply make out by how you are writing whatever is being discussed.
Projecting your ideas. Yes.
Yes, whatever you have written. Can you just tell me one thing? Is the recording happening? Because the clock seemed to have stopped at 4 minutes and 14 seconds.
No, ma'am, it is
Ma'am,
showing
it is
26.
continuing. Recording
It
is
is
there.
continuing because it's very important. Otherwise, we won't get the video recording of this lecture. I don't know why it is showing so in my this thing. Anyways, so writing skills also, they communicate a lot. So that brings me, actually good you popped up this question, that this observation, that brings me to the first barrier that I'm going to discuss with you today when we talk about the different types of barriers that we encounter. I think yesterday we had gone through that video and discussed a video.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
On the
ma'am.
barrier, right?
Yes.
So that so the first kind of barrier and the most like we say the most evident barrier that we come across is the language and the semantic barrier related barriers. So like you said, if, you talked about written communication. So written communication is the most evident, you can say, barrier in communication, because you are not there to clarify your stance. The person concerned is only and only going to interpret the words, right? So that is why your written communication, it is suggested, has to be a very, very responsible and very well thought out communication. When we will discuss the writing process, and even if you have, I think in school also the writing process must have been discussed with you in some class or the other, when essay writing or paragraph writing or story writing was introduced. So there are stages like drafting, redrafting, as one of the stages of writing. So when we emphasize on drafting, redrafting, it means your final draft, the what you write the first time, is very different from the final version of your thoughts after proofreading it, after editing it, after going through it maybe a couple of times. Right? Because every time you write, you improve something in it, you add something, you remove something, you substitute one word for the other. So many changes they happen. So why do we recommend those changes? Why do books that people write, the articles that people write, they have to undergo the scrutiny of the editor? Because editor is kind of a gardener of the world of words, pruning whatever is unnecessary or whatever is not required, and then you get that complete article or that book in place. Editors play a very, very important role in giving the final shape to the books or the articles in the journals that are published, anything, even online, whether online or offline. Because your written communication is one way, because you're not getting the real-time response when we talk about the printed word, right? Offline and online have certain variations. When we talk about written communication, online can be real time also, you can get real time responses also, but your written communication has to be made very responsible, because at that moment you're not there to clarify what is the meaning that you intend. So you have to be very careful with the words that you're using, the sentences that you're using. So when we talk about the barriers, lack of common language, somebody was mentioning culture yesterday. So language is one of the cultural barriers also. When language is not commonly understood between people coming from different cultures, so it becomes a big barrier in communication. What do we mean by arbitrary symbols? What is the meaning of arbitrary symbols? Yes, what do we mean by arbitrary symbols?
Symbols with different meanings.
With
Ma'am,
what?
symbols with different meanings. Ma'am, like victory sign.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, that is when you can assign different meanings to a certain word. Clear? That is arbitrary. It is not specific. It is not limited to one. Right? And when we talk about language, language is arbitrary symbol that every language doesn't have common, doesn't have symbols which are common. The script of Hindi is different from the script of English, which is different from the script of Punjabi, which is different from the script of Arabic. Right? So every symbol has its own specific meaning, which will vary from language to language. Right? So lack of common language, if I do not understand a particular language will be a barrier in communication. So we need to be very careful about it. Semantic barriers. So semantic barriers are barriers related to the meaning in the words. You know, like meaning is not in the words. Words have no meaning of their own. What do I mean by this? Words are said to have no meaning. Do you agree with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please explain it? What do we mean when we say words have no meaning?
Ma'am, when we are happy and our expressions and body language is not that, and we are saying we are happy, so the meaning of happy changes to sad. We understand that he is sad, not happy. So in this case, these meanings changes.
Okay, very good example. Yes. Yes, Parth.
And to a person who is not aware of that language, the words of that language doesn't mean anything because he cannot understand it. He cannot process it. What does it mean?
Yes,
How
very
to express it?
Excuse me. We need to
Yes.
knit the words properly to make a meaningful sentence. So words
Yes.
in itself have no meanings, but when we knit them properly into a sentence, we have a meaningful sentence.
Then only when they are placed in a proper order, like
Yes,
when we talk parts of speech, they have a particular role and they come in a certain order in a sentence. Right?
Ma'am, I feel that when we say that the words do not have their meaning, I also take this in a sense that when I'm writing something, I may have a different tone while saying that sentence, and when I have written that sentence, and when you are only reading it uh, when I'm not there to explain what that sentence means, I guess that is also a barrier that the sentence means the same, but the tone is different while I am speaking and while you are reading.
Very good. In written communication, your tone is absent. That's the biggest drawback. Your presence, your body language is not there. So punctuation marks play a very important role there. They are the substitute for the tone. Yes, Sarthak?
Basically, ma'am, if we aren't able to communicate,
Sarthak, you're not audible.
Ma'am, am I audible now?
Yes, now you're audible. Yes.
Ma'am, what I'm trying to say is that if we aren't able to communicate with the help of our body language effectively, then the words naturally become futile.
Very good. That's a very nice interpretation and very right also. Yes, Divyam?
Ma'am, instead of saying words have no meaning, we can also say that words have many meanings and can mean different thing to different people depending on
Very
various
true.
factors,
Very
basically
true.
encoding and decoding.
Yes, very right. Yes, Anshuman?
Ma'am, I would like to support what Divyam said that in today's class, like we are 55 or 57 children here, and for the same word we have 57 variations.
Yes.
So
very right. There are around 500 odd words in English language which have 15,000 meanings in total. The word high itself is known to have 11 different meanings. Yes.
So, ma'am, the same word can be written with a different feeling, with a different perspective, and with 57 children here, 57 different perspectives we have.
Very true. Very right. In fact, the context determines the meaning of a word. In which context that you're using. So essentially, there is also some kind of scientific reason, so to say, if you study language and linguistics, what they talk about when they say words have no meaning, it means the meaning is assigned to the words by the person concerned. Otherwise, if the meaning was inherent in the words, then different words would not have been used for the same thing. For example, we use cat, cat in English, billi in Hindi, right? And there would be a dog in English, kutta in Hindi, and I think in French it is, I do not know the exact pronunciation, it's chien, chien is the word used for dog. Had the meaning been in the word itself, same word would have been used universally across all the languages, but the word do not carry the meaning. The meaning is here. We assign the meaning to a particular word. There is a, maybe somebody thought of calling a cat and the cat was labeled as this particular animal will be referred to as cat. They may have certain scientific reason for that or any other reason, but somebody else in some other cultural place or region must have thought that according to their language that no, cat should be, this particular animal should be addressed with this particular name, right? So the words don't carry meaning. We assign meaning to the words that are there. Clear? So, and because of this also we need to be very careful. All of you, the points that you have given, that how words don't carry meanings but we assign them meaning. The meaning is arbitrary, it is changeable, it is not specific. That is exactly what we have to be very careful of. And you can see one example that I've mentioned over here. It is about the World War II, when the Allies sent a message to the Japanese forces to surrender. The Japanese, they telegraphed using this one word, mokusatsu. Now this word had two meanings. One was to ignore and the other one was to withhold. Right? Now what they meant was to withhold comment. What the Allies understood was to ignore, that they're ignoring the warning, and the result was Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So see how misinterpretation or how the arbitrary use of the meaning of the words, the meanings that are there in a word which are very contextual, how it can have an impact on the understanding, how it can change the face of the world, how it can change the things around you, right? So semantic barriers related to the barriers that we encounter because either we misinterpret the meaning of the word or we do not know the meaning of the word. In comprehension passages that you learned in school, you had word meaning also as one of the questions. So you were taught in the class that either you break the word into two. If it has a prefix and a suffix, you should know, if you know the meaning of the prefix or the suffix, you will be able to guess the meaning of the word. Or read 2 lines before it, 2 lines after it, and try to understand the meaning of the word depending upon the context or the background in which it is being used. Right? So, and different people will have different interpretations of the word, that perhaps it means this, perhaps it means that. There is a reason why you have a long list of synonyms. Words which have, if not same, but similar meanings, right? But every word cannot be used everywhere. Mini, short, small, right? All these are more or less the same in their meaning, but they cannot be used interchangeably everywhere, right? So next we come to poor vocabulary. What do you mean by denotative and connotative meanings? What are denotative and connotative meanings? Yes, Divya?
Ma'am, I forgot to raise my hand.
Oh, okay.
Unraise my hand.
Yes. So what are denotative and connotative meanings? Anybody? What do we understand by denotative and connotative meanings?
Ma'am, maybe to denote, specifically to denote someone.
Okay. Anybody else? See, denotative is the literal meaning of the word, and connotative is the implied meaning, the underlying meaning, the symbolic meaning. So the red is the color red, but red also symbolizes love, red also symbolizes anger, red also symbolizes danger. right? So danger, love, anger, all these are the connotative meanings of the word red, and the color red is the literal meaning of red. Is it clear? So denotative and connotative meanings, they also become a big barrier in communication, in our understanding, when your vocabulary is not very good and you do not have much knowledge of the words that are being used, and you don't realize what is the actual meaning, or what is the underlying meaning, what is the person actually trying to convey. For example, all of you are now budding engineers, and I'm sure some of you might have loved your English course during the school, and others found really difficult to understand the poetry, because poems have both denotative and connotative meanings. They have a surface meaning also, what the literal meaning of the word is, and then they have that hidden meaning which the poet wants to communicate. Right? So if you are not very clear, or if you do not have understanding of the words in that sense, then you will find it very difficult to get the essence or the core of the message. Now, poor knowledge of grammar and punctuation. Again, I think this example is a very oft circulated example through WhatsApp chats also. Let's eat grandpa and let's eat grandpa. What is the difference between the two?
First sentence means that grandpa, I want to eat you.
Yes.
And second
thing means
come on grandpa, let's eat together.
Let's eat. Now just one innocent comma can bring about so much of difference in the understanding. Let's eat grandpa and let's eat grandpa. Similarly, yes, you must have seen a very
chai, 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 chai.
Rakshit Malik.
Sorry, ma'am. It turned
Should
on
I
by
be
mistake.
removing you from the class?
No, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Turned on by mistake.
Don't think that it is not easy for us to trace or track the students. You're just in first year.
Ma'am, it is not as you are thinking. That I was not that. Sorry,
I'll talk to you later, Akshat. I don't want to lose my cool.
I'm really sorry, ma'am. It was not the intention which you are thinking of. It was not to disturb the class.
Okay. Some barrier in communication, Rakshit.
Ma'am, it was not like the interrupting or disturbing the class. That was not the intention.
Rakshit, that's what I'm saying. Some barrier in communication. Online classes have a kind of reputation with it. So like we say, there is some kind of a background associated with the online classes, and that is acting as a barrier in whether or not I should trust you, isn't it?
Ma'am, that is what I'm saying. The reputation one, ma'am, that was not the thing I was trying to do.
Okay, I trust you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Inspired by Too Mad.
Right. So now you understand how barriers, they can actually result in trusting or mistrusting a person, or distrusting a person. So grammar and punctuation plays a very important role. When many times when there is this very famous talk show by Bernard Shaw. It is also, you get the written script of that talk show also. You now unfortunately do not have any of the literature in your syllabus, but one credit courses, when it was a one credit course, we used to have certain prose pieces also, and one of that prose is Spoken English, Broken English by Bernard Shaw. So if you happen to, I think you will get it online also, go through that. It's a very interesting talk. And in that talk, Shaw says that how when you are speaking in English, striking a conversation in English with the native speakers over there, right? You don't have to be too grammatically formal or correct, because those people, they will not understand what you're trying to say if you speak too refined in English with them. The purpose is to communicate the message. So even if it is a broken English, because It's just like, we have a Hindi that we speak, which is the Hindi of conversation, and then we have the formal Hindi that we read in the books. There is a lot of difference between the two. The conversational Hindi and the formal Hindi that you read. The conversational Hindi is more about aiyo, jaiyo, kariyo, isn't it?
Ma'am, the
But
informal Hindi includes English
in
too.
conversational Hindi and your formal Hindi will be aiye, baithiye, right? So that's your that is the formal Hindi. Similarly, when we talk about English also, so there is the conversational English that you use, which is full of slangs. You do not pay attention to the grammatical structure, right? There are gaps, there are pauses, incomplete utterances, whatever. The way we use English to, just to talk to our friends around us. So in that particular bit of writing, he is trying to emphasize that when you are talking to a person, if you're a non-native speaker of English and you think that I have to speak a perfect English, taking care of all the refineries that go with it, a native speaker of English will not be able to understand you. A common English man may not be able to understand you. That English will be too refined and high class for that person, right? So just focus on communicating the message. But when we are talking about written communication in particular, this doesn't work like that. Your grammatical structure becomes important. Your punctuation becomes very, very important. Now, what has grammar to do? One, it can actually result in confusion related regarding what you're trying to communicate. One. Second, poor impression, bad impression on the reader. And if your writing is grammatically poor, generally we make mistakes related to articles, usage of prepositions or subject verb agreement, right? Didn't you knew, these kind of mistakes that we make. So what happens is that it leaves a poor impression that this person doesn't have command over the language, and the focus of the person is shifted from the main message to the mistakes that you have committed in your writing. Fine. So that is why this becomes a barrier in communication. There is a negative image that a person has formed about you. Your professionalism is questioned. Your sense of being very perfect with the task at hand is questioned, right? So we have to be very careful with grammar and punctuation for all these obvious reasons. Then roundabout verbiage. So what do we, in very simple words, mean with roundabout verbiage? What is the meaning of roundabout verbiage? Yes, who will explain the meaning of roundabout verbiage? Yes, Anshuman?
Ma'am, actually, I want to cite an example for punctuation part.
Yes.
I want to say a sentence in Hindi. I'm allowed.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
There is a sentence. उनको रोको मत जाने दो, and उनको रोको मत. Sorry, man, just a minute.
I'll give you the English version also for this one. Yes. Roko mat jane do.
And roko mat jane do.
हाँ.
So,
and the common, yes.
So the position of comma just changes the meaning of the whole sentence. I just wanted to cite the example. Yes, very true, very true. And in English, you have this signage that you see, go slow, comma, work in progress. And instead of putting the comma after work, if you put the comma after go, what will it become? Go, slow work in progress. You must have seen this signage often, go, slow, comma, work in progress. But if the comma is put after go, it becomes go, slow work in progress. Right? Whenever there is a work of a metro going on.
Yes, yes. Right. So how the meaning changes if small, because of the small comma that is there. So what do we mean by roundabout verbiage, coming back to the original question?
Ma'am, using words which do not have a very clear meaning in the context.
Yes, they don't have a clear meaning. Aryan Sarova. Sagar is the CR of the class, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Aryan is in your class, Sagar?
Yes, ma'am. Aryan Sarova is in our class only.
Okay, please take the screenshot and send it to me. Aryan is on hold for quite some time now. Right? So please send the screenshot. Aryan will not get the attendance. Yes, so very rightly explained. When we talk about roundabout verbiage, it means indirect meandering, like the words you find over here, exhausted words or phrases that result in confusion. So when you do not come to the point straight away, right, directly, but you beat about the bush. You're being indirect in your explanation, or your actual point that you want to make is coming at the end, and before that, whatever information that you're giving, it has nothing much to contribute to the real meaning that you want to convey to the other person. So being indirect, being oblique is what is meant by roundabout verbiage. You know what happens? People get bored. If ever somebody tells you are discussing something and someone says, come to the point, it means you're giving that information to the person which is not required, which is not necessary. You are resorting to roundabout verbiage. You're complicating the explanation. You're complicating the situation, making it very complex. You're not keeping it simple. You're not coming to the point right away, right? And when you don't come to the point right away, the meaning gets lost. Importance or the significance of that moment gets lost. This happens in your answers also. There is a reason why you have section A 6 marks, section B, let's say 10 marks, section C 20 marks. For every section, there is a certain kind of expression and certain kind of points that are expected from you to be highlighted. And according to that, only you have to learn to condense or elaborate your thoughts. Right? So 6 marks means you have to be very direct and precise and to the point. What role does Suzanne play in the plays? Suzanne in the play plays a very significant role of this and this, right? So very direct answers, very simple and very direct and to the point. But when the same thing is there in the 20 marks question, you have the liberty of setting the stage, of giving a proper introduction also. So roundabout verbiage becomes a big barrier in communication when you do not come to the point right away, but you go about beating the bush, you go round and round, and the meaning in the process gets lost, or the person gets disinterested in listening to you. So these are some expressions of roundabout verbiage or overly wordy expressions that we use. For example, at present, a variety of, you can easily, for at present, you can use now, a variety of, you can use various, due to the fact that you can simply use the word because. Instead of using for the most part, you can use usually, right? In order for, simply you can use for. In the event that, you can simply use if this happens, right? Or when this will happen. With regards to, you can simply use the word about. Have you followed? Have you understood what do we mean by roundabout expressions? घुमा घुमा के बात करना, not being to the point right away. Is it clear? Yes, Rakshit?
Ma'am, like sometimes by giving irrelevant information to the other person, the relevant information loses its importance.
Very good. The person sometimes will not be able to understand what is the important information that you actually want to communicate. The emphasis and the focus gets lost.
Or ma'am, when the part when we are giving the relevant information, he either loses interest in the conversation also.
Yeah, very true. It's mainly has to do with the interest. For example, you have written a very long answer for section A, which required only 1-page answer. What will happen? The person, by looking at the length only, will be disappointed that this person is just trying to beat about the bush, around the bush, and doesn't know the answer. Yes, Parth.
Ma'am, if writing to the point is so important, then why in the test and other conversations we have to specify, and we have to write a long passage instead of
there
point.
is a difference between writing in brief, and being precise. Precise means not letting any unnecessary redundant information intrude in your writing. Right? Writing short answers means only giving the crux overview, what is required. Just like you have a trailer of the movie and then you watch the movie. When you watch a movie also, then also you people try to evaluate it was unnecessarily stretched. ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा लंबी थी. This could have been cut. This scene was not necessary. This character, this subplot was not necessary in the movie. फालतू में they have made such a long movie. So when you give such comments that फालतू में they have made such a long movie, it means somewhere you felt the script was dragging. It was not pushing the story ahead. So when we talk about long answers, your long answers means we are trying to understand your analytical and evaluative ability, that how sharply you can analyze and evaluate that particular situation or that particular problem. And when you're giving different analysis, then your answer becomes rich. But if you're just repeating or dragging or elaborating the same point without much evidence, your answer will be long but blunt. It won't be sharp. It will not be impactful. That is the difference between the two. Right? So don't confuse precise being short. Precise means whatever is desired from you, those answers should be there in your responses. It can be 5 points. There can be 5 points. There can be just 1 point, or it can be 10. There can be 10 points also. But which are necessary and to be known to the other person. Clear? So I guess it's time, and we've spent, yes, Aditya.
Ma'am, I wanted to say that I don't think language is going to be such a huge barrier in the future as it is now. And because, ma'am, like English is being accepted as a global language in many countries, including India. No, I don't think language is going to be a barrier in the future.
Aditya, even in India, language is a bone of contention. It is a political issue.
I'm talking about the future, ma'am. Today it's a huge barrier, ma'am. But in the future, people will start.
How do you know? It's not even the #1 globally spoken language, Aditya. English. You have Spanish. Then I believe it is Mandarin, that is Chinese. No, Chinese is 4th, I guess. English is 3rd in place.
Spanish is 2nd.
French.
Spanish is 2nd.
Spanish is 2nd, but English definitely is not 1st. Now, or until and unless the top 10 sequence has undergone a change. We cannot
Ma'am,
for
I
sure
just
say,
checked.
Aditya. Yes.
English is first, Chinese, then Hindi, then Spanish, then Arabic, then
Is that
Bengali, and then
the new
Russian.
this thing, the top 10 list, Prajwal?
Ma'am, December 2019.
Okay, so that's the latest one. Hindi is a globally spoken language. That's what you're saying.
Ma'am,
doesn't seem to
it
be
has
right, man.
most spoken people.
Ma'am,
That's
wording.
just because India has so many
Okay,
people.
I'll try to. I will
7%
find
is
it
an
out.
Indian.
I will try to.
Yeah.
I will. Yes, I will have to look into the
615
source
million.
of this information. Hindi definitely cannot be the most spoken language. But Aditya, that's a very, very interesting point that you have raised, and this will be a very interesting topic for the group discussion also. That do you really feel that language will not be a barrier in future? We will initiate this 5 minutes discussion tomorrow in the class, and then continue with our discussion for the remaining barriers, Aditya, because at present we don't have much time left. So that's a very interesting point that you've come up with, Aditya. Thank you so much. So have a nice day. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you in the next class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.